Hey there, kiddo. Every time you visit, it reminds me just how much I love being your granddude. I can tell you've got something big on your mind today. I see it in your eyes, and I've heard you have a dream brewing. You want to start a YouTube channel, don't you? But I also see something else, a flicker of doubt, that little voice whispering, what if I'm not good enough? Hey, let me tell you, kiddo, those nerves you feel, they're not a stop sign. They're a signal that you're about to do something that matters. And you want to know a secret? You don't have to be perfect to start, but you do have to start to be great. Every single person who's ever done something worthwhile started out nervous and unsure, and maybe even a little terrible at what they were doing. I've done that. That's normal. In fact, it's part of the process. Nobody skips it. But here's the difference. The ones who succeed are the ones who refuse to quit. And I know you've got that in you. Let me take you back to when I first walked into a TV studio for my very first national interview. I can still remember thinking they were going to take me into that big studio I've always seen on TV. Instead, they walked me the other way, into a room no bigger than a closet. It was at the Washington, D.C. station. A producer from New York was in my ear. They were controlling the camera, staring me in the face. They had a monitor in the closet with me, but it had a delay, and every time I tried to look at it, I'd get completely disoriented. The bright lights came on, they were glaring down at me, making the room feel 10 degrees hotter, and the camera felt like it was just staring straight into my soul, and I could feel every bead of sweat on my forehead. My hands were shaking so much I had to grip the chair just to steady myself. And then the producer gave me a countdown. We're live in 3, 2, 1. And suddenly I was on air, hearing the questions from the national news anchor for the very first time. I opened my mouth and what came out? Honestly, I didn't even know what the hell I just said. I stumbled over my words. I forgot half of what I wanted to say and felt like I was rambling in circles. And by the time it was over, I walked out of that closet thinking, well, that couldn't have gone much worse. But here's the thing. When the next network called, I didn't let that stop me. I said yes. The more I showed up, the better I got. And before long, I was doing interviews regularly on all the national TV networks. And that led to me having a nationally syndicated advice column. That's the secret. Every stumble is a step forward. Every failure is a lesson. And it's not just TV. I've lived this in every part of my life. Kiddo, for more than a couple of decades, I worked as an investigative journalist, chasing criminals and protecting people. Every single day, I had to show up and write articles. And there were no shortcuts, no skipping days because I wasn't feeling creative. I had deadlines to meet and stories to tell. Some days I'd sit down at the keyboard with no idea where to begin. But do you know what I learned? I learned you don't have to know exactly where you're going to. The first step, you just have to take it. You have to start. That habit of showing up every day, it's what eventually helped me write and publish my award-winning personal finance book. The same principle applies to anything you want to achieve. Just start. You can fix, refine, and improve later, but nothing happens if you don't take that first step. When I started this YouTube channel, my Old Guy Insights channel, I made a promise to myself. I'd post a video nearly every single day. Some of those videos, not my best work. But I showed up, and do you know what happened? Little by little, I got better. Day by day, I grew stronger. Brick by brick, I built something I'm becoming proud of. It's the same strategy I used when I learned to fly. Learning to fly wasn't something that just happened overnight. A lot of people would take one lesson a week, maybe one every other week, and they'd spend the first part of each lesson relearning what they'd forgotten from before. I decided to do things differently. Every single day after work, I'd head to the airport and take a lesson. Whatever I messed up on one day, I would work on the next. It wasn't always pretty, but it was consistent. That persistence, that daily effort, it's how I turned mistakes into momentum. Before I knew it, I was flying solo, then earning my pilot's license, and later flying search and rescue missions as the chief pilot for an entire operation. That's the power of showing up every single day, even when it's tough, even when you're unsure. It's not about giant leaps. It's about small, steady steps that you keep moving forward with. Here's something I've learned. Moving forward isn't about taking giant strides. It's those small, steady steps. When I started looking into being an Amazon seller a couple of years ago, I didn't just jump in. For months, I read, researched, and built a solid understanding before I even took my first steps to sell one item. It wasn't glamorous or exciting. It was just one small step at a time. But that's how I built a foundation I could trust. And do you know what all those small steps turned into? A business where I now sell nearly 2,000 items. That's no small feat. It's not the biggest number out there, but it's a result of consistent effort. And it all started with months of research before I sold a single thing. That's what I want you to remember. Big accomplishments are made of those small, steady actions. Each step builds on the last, and before you know it, you've created something amazing. I'm going to share something with you that most people don't realize or don't understand and often get wrong. As your Granddude, I want you to have this advice early. People strive for perfection, and for them, that might be what they hope to achieve for a variety of reasons. But my strategy is a bit different. In fact, I used this exact strategy when I wrote my award-winning personal finance book. You ready? You should not be striving for perfection. The goal should be good enough. Now, here's why. You can gain knowledge faster by putting out videos that are good enough more often than by spending an entire week trying to perfect a single video. The time you invest quadruples, but does the improvement? Not nearly as much. You see, I don't think mistakes are what need to be avoided. I believe wasting time is the bigger sin. Every video you put out that's good enough teaches you something new, and with each lesson, you get better faster. Mistakes aren't the enemy, they're stepping stones. The real enemy is the time we lose waiting for perfection to arrive. Here's what I want you to take away. You don't have to leap to greatness. You just have to take that first step. Yes, there will be people who doubt you. They'll say you can't, and maybe one day you'll even doubt yourself. But here's the thing. Doubt doesn't define you. Action does. And one day you might want to stop doing whatever it is you've accomplished and move on to the next goal. I've got some great advice for you when that day comes, but that's not today. Today, we start. So here's my challenge to you. This week, today, make one video. It doesn't need special equipment. Just use your phone. You don't need a perfect script or fancy edits. Just be you. Speak from the heart and hit record. The magic isn't in being perfect. It's in being brave enough to start. And if you ever find yourself struggling, come back here. Post in the comments. I'll be here for you. I'll be cheering you on and ready to catch you when you stumble. And I'll help you get back up. And if you've already taken your first step, share it below. We'll cheer you on too. Every big dream deserves a team. Remember those nerves you feel right now? They're not a stop sign. They're a starting signal. They're proof that you're about to do something meaningful. Trust them and trust yourself. Kiddo, I don't just believe in you. I know that you've got what it takes. Now it's time for you to see it too. Give your old Granddude a hug and go grab that phone. The world needs to see your light. You've got this, and I couldn't be prouder of you already.